If you're thinking about starting an Airbnb business in the United Kingdom, I've got good news for you. It's not as complicated as you think. As someone that has been an Airbnb host for 5 years with 13 properties listed, 6 properties which I own, and 7 properties which are leased from landlords with their permissions, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about being an Airbnb host in the United Kingdom. This video will teach you things you never considered, but they are essential to your success. So make sure you watch until the end. First up is a thing which everyone gets excited about when thinking about starting an Airbnb business. And rightfully so, because it will determine whether you succeed or fail miserable before you even get started. Choosing the best location for your business. So a location can be tough to choose, but I always recommend and I always suggest choose a location which you reside in or a 30-minute or an hour drive away from where you live. So in this way, it's easy for you to get there, especially if you're starting off. So if you live in a big city, that's a bonus for you because you don't have to go anywhere else. There are Airbnbs in your particular city. So you just have to do your market research by going to the Airbnb platform and seeing which location in the city you live in actually has the most Airbnbs and actually has the most bookings, etc. This is basic market research. You can have the best location in the UK, but without knowing the 4 other steps, you can literally get your business shut down. So pay attention to the next steps, which I'm going to mention. The next step is setting up a company. So for you to set up a company, you can go to an accountant who they can help you with that, or you can go to like the government website. It's called Easy Steps, which can help you setting up an account. I think it's about 15 or 12 pounds to open a company in the United Kingdom. So you choose whether you want a limited company or whether you want a partnership, LLP, etc. So there are many company structures. So once you've created a company, you need to open a bank account. So with the bank account as well, it's the same thing. You will need the company certificate as your prerequisite. You can go to like the mainstream banks, or you can go to like a challenger bank, the bank which can open an account within 2 to 3 days. I personally prefer the challenger banks because of their speed in opening an account. The next step will be getting your licenses. So depending on which part of the United Kingdom are you operating. So we operate in Scotland and in England. In Scotland now, for you to have an Airbnb service accommodation business, you need to have a license in place. But if you're operating in England only, at the minute, at the current time, you don't need a license, but you need to be compliant with the fire regulations. You just follow the HMO standards to make sure you're compliant with the fire regulations. So you need to get fire doors, fire alarms, smoke alarms, etc. So your Airbnb is safe, it's guest safe. I've done a video in my school community of this, so you can join the school community and it will help you out. So after that, you need to get your insurances in place. If you list your property on Airbnb, there is an Airbnb air cover which will cover you for damages up to 1 million. But if you list your properties on other platforms like booking.com, VRBO, Expedia, this Airbnb air cover doesn't cover you. So you will need external insurances to cover you. So make sure you have these third-party insurances which will cover your contents and everything in your property just in case a guest damages. Now that you've got all the admin out of the way and your property is listed on Airbnb and other platforms like booking.com, VRBO, the next thing I'm going to talk about will determine whether you get bookings and your business is actually profitable. So the first things which we need to think about here is how to price your Airbnb. So we need to talk about what nightly rate will be advertised and what weekend rates will be advertised for your Airbnb, for your property in these various booking platforms. So you can use a dynamic pricing tool. A dynamic pricing tool looks at the area, it looks at the competition. So this is exactly like the same pricing tools which airlines use, which car rental companies use. They look at the competition, they look at the supply and demand, and they automatically price your tools. If you don't have that tool and you're not experienced with using that tool, you can just manually do this yourself by starting and looking at the competition. So once you start getting these bookings and you've got your pricings in place, you want to make sure your guests are happy and leave you a 5-star review, which boils down to the next two things I'm going to talk about: how to keep your property well maintained, and how to have a high standard spec for you to obviously attract good guests and attract the guests of your own profile. So if you've listed your property as like a contractor house, which will attract mainly people coming into the specific location to work or do certain jobs, etc. So this is like more, you want people to provide accommodation to business people, contractors, people coming to work. Or if you listed your property to attract holidays makers, so people coming to stay for holidays, people coming to stay for leisure. So these are like two different guest type profiles. So you need to be very, very clear from the onset in which guests you want to attract. By the way, you can also attract both guests. You can attract contractors and holiday makers in the same type of property, but you just have to know how to optimize the property in order to be able to attract them, because Airbnb is a service-based business. So it's all about guest satisfaction and giving your customers the best service. So once you've got all these things in place, you've maintained your property, you're changing everything, like the property is clean, the next best thing is for you to have like automated guest communications. As I mentioned, this is a service-based business, so you need to like have good communication with your guests. So examples of good communication: once a guest books, so you communicate with them, thanking them, thank you for booking. Once a guest stays for one night, the following morning, you send them a message asking them how their night was and what can be done to make their stay comfortable. So all these communication, you're getting feedback from the guest, and they will tell you if there's any issues straight away, than leaving the guest to check out, then they're mentioning issues which they had. So it's better to always follow up and preempt the guests. So this is just providing like the best customer service for your guests. I think I've mentioned everything on how to start an Airbnb business in the United Kingdom. I know it's not that complicated. Well, I guess it's easy for me because I've been an Airbnb host for the past 5 years and hosted hundreds and hundreds of guests. If you'd like to shortcut your learning curve and kickstart your Airbnb business, check the first link in the description. Download an Airbnb guide which I've created, join the school community and learn how to get your first Airbnb in the next 30 days or even less.